"Get out of my church, Jezebel." The voice thundered through the microphone, bouncing off the marble pillars of Christ's Divine Assembly, one of the biggest Pentecostal churches in Port Harcourt. Gasps swept through the congregation as Pastor Nathaniel flung a white envelope to the ground in front of the pulpit. Inside it, photos. Photos of his wife, First Lady Nkira Nathaniel, kissing a younger man. In a hotel, bare-chested, Bible clutched in her hand. Share this video if you think this is madness. Tag someone who must watch this before going to church again. Nkira didn't speak. She didn't scream. She didn't deny. She only bent down slowly, picked up the photos, and smiled. "Now you've done it," she whispered. Pastor Nathaniel blinked, confused. Then the lights in the church flickered. For a second, everything went dark. The congregation panicked. Ushers scrambled. Then just as suddenly, the lights came back, but something felt different. A strange scent filled the air, like burnt wood or ash. No one noticed the old woman sitting in the third pew, head wrapped, face unmoving. And no one saw Nkira mouth the words, "You opened the gate yourself." By nightfall, the footage of the public disgrace had gone viral on TikTok and Instagram. Hashtag scandal in the sanctuary. The church's Facebook page crashed from traffic. But what people didn't know was the hotel Nkira was caught in. It wasn't just any place. It was a Juba guest house, abandoned after 3 pastors were found dead there last year. Some said it was cursed. Some said it was a shrine. And the man she was kissing? He had no shadow. 2 days earlier, Nkira had stood in her husband's office with a forced smile. "Your secrets are piling too high, Natha." Pastor Nathaniel looked up from his prayer book. "Don't call me that. You only call me that when you're about to lie." She laughed bitterly. "Me? Lie? No, darling. I came to remind you that what you hide behind the pulpit, someone else buries in the altar." He stood, brushing invisible lint off his robe. "Whatever you think you know." "Oh, I know everything," she snapped. "I know what you did to that girl in the choir. I know how you covered it. I know how you paid off the mother to disappear to Benin." Nathaniel's eyes hardened. "That was a mistake." Nkira smiled thinly. "No, marrying you was." He moved closer, voice low. "You forget who you're talking to." "And you forget," she whispered. "I came from somewhere darker than you preach against. You took me from a coven. I never said I left it." Silence. Then she turned and walked out, stilettos clicking like judgment bells down the polished corridor. The day of the public disgrace, church members flooded her DMs. "How could you do this to our pastor? We looked up to you. Shame on you, Mummy G. Bo." But Nkira didn't hide. She went live on Instagram that evening. Her hair was tied back. Her makeup flawless. Her eyes? Cold. "You think I'm a problem?" she said. "Then wait. Because I'm just getting started." What no one knew was that Nkira had kept journals for the past 7 years. Every secret, every abuse, every fake prophecy Pastor Nathaniel forced her to act out on stage. Every night, she had a cry on cue for deliverance. Every time he locked her in the prayer room for 3 days without food because she wasn't submissive enough. And she wasn't the only one. Nkira had names. Of the girls. Of the payoffs. Of the rituals. Yes, rituals. Because the church wasn't just a church. It was built over something older. Something buried. And when Nathaniel decided to humiliate her publicly, he unknowingly broke the seal she'd sworn to keep shut. After the viral scandal, the elders of the church gathered, not to investigate Nathaniel, but to silence his wife. "She must apologize on live TV," said Elder Kalu. "If she refuses, we'll say she's mentally unstable. We'll pay off a doctor," added Deaconess Igioma. "We've done it before." But someone else was at the table that day. His name was Apostle Chike, and he had just returned from exile in South Africa, where his own ministry burned down after a mysterious death. "I know that woman," he said quietly. "She wasn't chosen by God. She was planted." "By who?" someone asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he passed around an old photo. In it, a teenage girl wearing red beads, kneeling before a fire. Her face painted. It was Nkira. The next Sunday, Attendance dropped by 40%. Tithes? Cut in half. TV sponsors? Pulled out. Pastor Nathaniel called a private meeting with his PR team. Spin this. Make it look like she was possessed. That she attacked me first. His assistant coughed. Sir, she's already released voice notes. And there's footage. From inside the office. CCTV. Nathaniel's face drained of color. What footage? She has the files. From when? The night she said she forgave you. He stood up so fast his chair fell back. Get the IT team. Call them now. But it was too late. That night, Channels TV aired a 10-minute segment featuring clips of Pastor Nathaniel screaming at a teenage choir member in his office. Her face was blurred. His wasn't. And in the background, a red candle, burning upside down. Back in her temporary apartment, Nkairu sipped palm wine slowly, watching the news. She turned to her sister. I told him I was the wrong one to betray. Her sister nodded. He thought you were weak. No, Nkairu said softly. He just forgot who taught me to pray in silence and kill in whispers. Suddenly, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. The voice was male. Come, madam. They know where you are. You need to leave. Tonight. Who are you? She asked. I'm just someone who used to believe in him too. Then the line went dead. At exactly 2:47 a.m., a fire broke out in the apartment block. 2 floors burned. 3 families displaced. Nkairu escaped barefoot, with nothing but her phone and a flash drive hidden in her bra. But she didn't cry. She only looked back and said, now the war has started. The church gates were locked, not because it was late, but because she had told them to keep him out. Pastor Ibuka stood outside House of Glory Ministries, drenched in rain, his hands trembling as he banged on the metal gate. Open this gate, he shouted. I am the shepherd of this house. But inside, no one moved. Across the street, in a tinted SUV, Adiz watched silently, lips tight, tears falling freely. The same hands that used to hold her gently were now pounding in rage. Her husband, the father of her children, had become a stranger. Record this, she said to the driver beside her. The camera was already rolling. She didn't need revenge. She needed truth. For too long, the church was a mask. Sunday sermons, midweek anointings, marriage counseling sessions that only gaslight her reality. But now, the church would see the man behind the pulpit. The storm had started long before that night. Adiz met Ibuka when she was just 21, a choir girl from Enugu, with a fire in her spirit and a gift for prayer. He was 30, fresh from Bible school in Jos, already leading youth crusades with thousands in attendance. Their chemistry was undeniable. 2 flames dancing toward destiny. Within a year, they married. The church rejoiced. A match made in heaven, the elders called it. But heaven felt far away by the 3rd year. Ibuka changed. Or maybe he was never who she thought he was. Late nights, secret calls, locked drawers in his office, and a new assistant, Sister Rejoice, whose skirts seemed to rise with every sermon. Adiz tried to be the perfect wife. She fasted, prayed, served, swallowed her suspicions like bitter communion, until the dream started. In the dream, she was standing in the pulpit, bleeding, and her husband? He was laughing, holding hands with a woman in red. Behind them, the church was on fire. Every time she woke up, something new would go wrong. Money missing from the joint account, her children complaining of strange voices whispering at night, shadows moving across the baby monitor. Then came the miscarriage, and she knew something unholy was in their home. 1 week after the church incident, Adiz visited an old friend, Matsi Osundu, a blind herbalist who lived on the outskirts of town. Though she was a devout Christian, something told her this battle wasn't ordinary. He listened to her in silence, then said, Your husband drinks from a cup not given by God. She froze. What does that mean? It means someone is feeding him power, not from the Holy Spirit. Adiz felt the room spin. He used to be pure, she whispered. People change, Matsi said, reaching into a woven basket. And some are changed by blood. He handed her a pouch of black powder and a small mirror. When next you look into his eyes, hold this mirror between you. You'll see the spirit behind the man. Adiz left trembling, but she didn't use it. Not yet. 3 days later, the church accountant called her in secret. "Auntie," he whispered over the phone, "I need to show you something." In a hidden folder on a locked hard drive, she saw it. Proof of secret transfers to a woman named Gloria Nwachukwu. Amount: 2.5 million Nigerian nairas. Message: for the boy. Her heart sank. The boy? That night, she confronted Ebuka, but he didn't flinch. "What boy?" he repeated calmly, sipping wine. "You're being paranoid. Stop lying to me." He stood slowly, then smiled. "The devil is using your mind, Adiz. You should fast." She broke the mirror the next day, shattered it against the marble floor of their bathroom. Because she was done watching. She was ready to act. First, she changed the locks on her children's room. Then she began recording every conversation, every whisper, every argument, every slip of the tongue. When she played one back late at night, something chilled her blood. It was his voice. Low, controlled, whispering, "They can never find out, or she'll ruin everything." The other voice? "Sister Rejoice." And what she said? "Don't worry, she won't live to." Adiz left the house at midnight. By morning, she had filed for divorce. And by afternoon, the church WhatsApp group exploded. Pastor's wife leaves matrimonial home. Rebellion in the first family. Pray against the spirit of Jezebel in House of Glory. But Adiz had prepared. She released the first video that evening. Ebuka, in a hotel room, shirtless, with Sister Rejoice kissing his neck. The church internet crashed. Inside the mansion, Ebuka sat in the dark, lights off, blinds drawn. Rejoice was gone. His children wouldn't take his calls. And the elders? They had called an emergency meeting. "Damage control," his assistant whispered. "No," Ebuka growled. "War." He grabbed his phone and dialed the number saved under Odogwu midnight. A hoarse voice answered. "Is it time?" "Yes." "You understand what this means?" "I want her to disappear." Silence. Then laughter. "Consider it done." Meanwhile, Adiz sat in a rented apartment in Lekki with her sister and 2 children. She hadn't slept in days, but she was calm, because tomorrow she would reveal the church documents, fake miracles, staged deliverances, monthly seed remittance to offshore accounts, and a fake prophecy business. But she had one more call to make, to the woman she once despised. Gloria, the mother of the boy. She met her as small Buka in Ikeja. Gloria wore a scarf and sunglasses. Her voice was soft. "Tired. You've come far," she said. "But it's not over." Adiz leaned forward. "Why didn't you ever come forward?" Gloria's lips quivered. "Because I was 16 when it happened." Adiz's world tilted. 16, Gloria nodded. "And I was a choir girl. Like you." Silence hung between them like smoke. "Where's the boy now?" "With my aunt." "But they came looking for him 2 nights ago. I had to move him." Adiz reached across the table, grabbed her hand. "I'll protect him." Gloria stared. "You're braver than I was," she said. "But be careful. He has people. Powerful ones." Adiz looked her dead in the eyes. "So do I." That night, as lightning cracked over Lagos, Adiz received a package with no return address. Inside was a bloodstained Bible and a note. "The pulpit belongs to men. Go back to your kitchen or join Amara in the grave." Her hand shook. Amara, the former assistant pastor's wife, who allegedly died of an asthma attack 2 years ago. But in that moment, Adiz remembered something odd from the funeral. Amara's lips had been stitched. Not normal in any Christian burial. She gasped. That wasn't a burial. It was a warning. And she was next. In the next chapter, Adiz uncovers a chilling prophecy hidden inside a decades-old church journal. What she finds threatens to expose the entire denomination, but someone else is watching her every move. As Adiz tucked her children into bed, a shadow moved past her window. A whisper followed. "You've gone too far." She ran outside. No one was there, but written in red on her car windshield. "Next Sunday is your funeral." If you thought that was intense, wait. This next one uncovers the church's deepest secret and a prophecy that changes everything. Don't forget to hit subscribe and keep watching. The ancient journal fell from Adiz's damp hands. Rain pounded the rooftop as she crouched in her rented Lecky apartment, pages splayed open on a small table. The entries were written in looping handwriting, dark ink stained with what looked like blood. The daughter of fire will rise to judge the one with two faces. Behind the pulpit lies the altar of graves. Her chest tightened. The prophecy matched everything she'd exposed so far. The infidelity, the voices at night, the deaths that followed. She turned the page. A name, Ibuka Chikwambi, her husband, and Nkaira Nathaniel, the first lady who had triggered the first scandal. And then, when the faithful woman breaks her silence, the saints will tremble. Adi's breath froze. This wasn't just history. It was tomorrow's headline. Savannah Drive in Port Harcourt glowed under streetlights as she left. Her sister, Ike, drove silently, eyes forward. "We're doing the right thing," Ike whispered, her voice heavy with fear. Adiz nodded. It's time they feared the altar night. They parked in front of Christ Divine Assembly, the same building where Pastor Nathaniel had humiliated Nkaira days before. She slipped out, journal in hand. She entered from the back in trance. The staff-only door at the side was unlocked. Inside, the corridors smelled like must and lies. She moved quietly. At the archival room, the same place where elders hid files, she knocked over a bucket. It clanged. A man in a black suit appeared. "Who are you?" Adiz held the journal up. "Someone who knows your secrets." He lowered his gun slowly. She backed into the room. A single bulb overhead flickered. Inside, boxes full of sermons, bank records, and church calendars filled shelves. She pulled a folder marked Deliverance Receipts, 2015 to 2025. Among them, receipts of cash from hundreds of people raped and scared into donating, and months later, labeled magic seed offerings. Her skin crawled. The man lunged. She ducked out, journal and folder safe in her bag. She ran past archives, halls, then burst out to the backyard. They chased her into the parking lot. Someone tackled her to the ground. One question on her lips as hands pinned her. What about Amara? What about the death? A voice hissed in her ear. "Stop digging, or you'll join her." She screamed, scrambled free, and ran across the street into a crowd of late-night worshipers heading home from midnight prayer. Some helped her. Others gawked. She shoved the folder and journal into her sister's hands. Drive! Morning headlines stole her breath. Church archives broken into, secret files stolen. Prophecy revealed. Journal hints at betrayal among first ladies. Adiz Chikwambi accuses Christ Divine. Dark secrets exposed. Across the city, the house was burning, inside. Elder Kalu's driver called. The elders are meeting now. They think this is an inside job. Adiz watched herself on screen. A news anchor read. Woman found with church files claims prophetic truth. Church denies wrongdoing. She closed her eyes. Later, she met with Gloria, the teenage choir girl's mother, at a wellness cafe in Suralere. Gloria sipped tea. Your path just crossed hers. Adiz looked down. Amara's daughter is alive, Gloria whispered. Raised in that church. They didn't kill her, they hid her. Adiz stared, stunned. Her name is Amaka, age 18. Choir girl turned prophecy reader. She speaks in tongues now. In captivity, they say. Adiz's fingers shook. Where is she? Gloria shook her head. They move her often. But I heard she was at Harvest House in Lecky last week. Adiz swallowed. I'll find her. That afternoon, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A message. You're stirring up a hornet's nest. The prophecy wasn't for you. She called. No reply. Inside the mansion, Elder Kalu slammed his fist on the table. Bring her to me, he snarled at his assistant. Across town, Ibuka knelt in prayer, public prayer. Lord, keep my family and ministry through these lies. Then looked up. His eyes were cold. He tapped a red candle beside the pulpit, the same brand as in the scandal footage. In her apartment that night, Adiz opened her journal. A new entry scrawled in blood-stained ink. You have broken the seal. Now you will bleed. Her phone lit up with a picture. A photo of her children's school gates, time-stamped today. Footsteps echoed outside. She ran to the window. No one there, but they're on her screen in red text. Next Sunday, is your funeral. I warned you, didn't I? That was the first thing Pastor Felix said when he stepped into their living room that Sunday night, uninvited. Adiz stood frozen in front of the TV, still replaying the footage that had gone viral hours earlier. Her husband, in that hotel room, with Sister Ruth, on camera. The same Sister Ruth who led intercession at the altar. The same one who stood beside her just last week during Women's Deliverance. The video had nearly crashed their church WhatsApp group. People weren't even trying to hide their disgust anymore. Your husband brought shame on my altar, Pastor Felix growled, and I don't take kindly to disgrace. Adiz blinked, slowly turning to face him. He didn't just disgrace your altar. He disgraced me. I'm not here for pity. Pastor Felix stepped closer. His suit was drenched from the rain, but his eyes were on fire. I told you before, Adiz. There are only two types of women in this world. Wives of men and women of God. She backed up slightly. What are you talking about? I gave you a chance. You chose him. His voice dropped. Now watch what happens to both of you. If this chapter shocks you already, keep watching. Because things are about to get even darker in this African church tale of betrayal, manipulation, and secrets. Like and subscribe. You won't want to miss what comes next. Hours later, inside the master bedroom, Chuka was still pacing. I don't know how it leaked, he kept saying. I swear, babe, I thought the footage was deleted. Adiz didn't respond. She sat on the edge of the bed, motionless. The only sound was the rain pounding against the windows. You believe me, right? He asked again, kneeling beside her. She looked down slowly, her voice barely a whisper. I saw it with my own eyes, Chuka. It wasn't real, he said, grabbing her hand. I was set up. You kissed her. He paused. And you touched her. Babe, you touched her like you touch me. Silence. Chuka looked away, then stood up. That video was from 6 months ago. Don't lie. Adiz's voice cracked. She was wearing the same blouse she wore to church last week. Now he froze. That means this happened recently. Adiz rose to her feet, fists clenched. That means while I was fasting and praying for our baby, you were screwing the choir leader in a hotel room off Bode Thomas. Adiz. She slapped him. Hard. The echo of her hand against his cheek filled the room. He didn't retaliate. Instead, he turned and left the room. The next morning, the compound was full of whispers. 2 security guards had been fired overnight. The house help was nowhere to be seen. And Sister Ruth? Gone. Her apartment had been cleared. No forwarding address. No word. Just gone. But Adiz wasn't fooled. She knew Pastor Felix had helped her escape. What she didn't understand, not yet, was why. 2 days later, the church was unusually empty for midweek service. Pastor Felix stood on the altar, fire in his eyes. My children, when the devil rises in your home, it is your duty to crush him with holiness. Amen scattered around the room like uncertain echoes. In these last days, he thundered, even your husband may become your enemy, and even your wife may become your accuser. Adiz watched from the back. He wasn't preaching to the congregation. He was speaking directly to her. She got up and walked out. That night, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. I saw what happened, the woman said quietly. And I know what they're hiding. Adiz sat up. Who is this? I can't say. Not yet. But meet me at Ijesha Park tomorrow. For PM. Then the line went dead. The next day, she waited at the park for 30 minutes. No one came. She was about to leave when someone slipped an envelope into her hand. No words. Just a firm press of fingers and then gone. Inside the envelope, pictures. Dozens of them. Not of her husband, but of Pastor Felix. With other women. In cars. In hotel rooms. At crusade grounds. One photo showed him kissing a woman who couldn't be more than 19. Adiz's mouth dropped. The final picture? It was taken in front of a traditional shrine. The man of God, standing before an old native priest, kneeling. Head bowed, hands stretched, receiving something. Adiz dropped the envelope. What she had just seen could destroy the entire church. She ran to her car, locked the doors, and drove home like a madwoman. But when she got there, Chuka was already waiting outside, and he was bleeding. Your pastor, he gasped, holding his side. He sent someone after me. Adiz froze. I was followed after work, he continued. 2 men. They had knives. I escaped. She stared at him, stunned. But why? I told them I was going to confess, Chuka whispered. I couldn't take it anymore. The guilt. The lies. Everything. Adiz felt dizzy. What lies, Chuka? He leaned against the car, breathing heavily. I wasn't just sleeping with Ruth, he admitted. I was part of something bigger. Money. Cover-ups. Felix is running a racket. Tides aren't just going to church buildings. They're being laundered. Adiz stumbled back. But the day I wanted to expose it, Chuka continued, he sent Ruth. To distract me. To trap me. Adiz collapsed onto the driveway. Everything was unraveling too fast. That night, she locked all the doors and stared at the photos again. Her hands trembled. Her phone buzzed. It was a video. She clicked it. Pastor Felix. Again. With another woman. Inside the church office. The woman was crying. No one will believe you, he said in the video. You're just a choir girl. I'm the man of God. Then he slapped her. Adiz screamed and threw the phone across the room. This wasn't just infidelity. This was abuse. And spiritual blackmail. And power. She was holding evidence that could collapse everything. The church. The pastor. Her husband. All of it. By morning, Adiz had made a decision. She sent the photos and video to one place. The blog known for exposing corrupt pastors. She didn't sign it. She didn't include her name. She just uploaded it anonymously. But deep down, she knew they'd trace it back. And she didn't care anymore. She was done. Later that day, the blog posted it. Exclusive. Popular Lagos pastor caught on camera assaulting female choir member. Shrine rituals exposed. It spread like wildfire. By noon, hashtag Pastor Felix trended on X, formerly Twitter. By 4 p.m., the church was sealed by police. By 6 p.m., news cameras were parked in front of her gate. And by 7 p.m., someone tried to burn her house. The fire started in the backyard. Luckily, the neighbors saw it in time. But Adiz knew what it meant. They were coming for her now. All of them. The church cult. The blind followers. Maybe even Felix himself. She and Chuka moved into a hotel that night. But she didn't sleep. Instead, she stared at the ceiling and whispered, "This is far from over. Don't touch that body," the officer shouted, raising his hand, just as another usher tried to lay a white cloth over Pastor Chigaz's lifeless frame. A woman screamed. The church that once echoed with hallelujahs and speaking in tongues was now filled with gasps, wailing, and camera flashes from local bloggers and journalists who'd rushed to the scene. The pulpit was roped off with yellow tape. And at the center of it all, right where the choir used to stand, lay the body of the man everyone swore was untouchable. If you're new to this story, pause now. Click subscribe, because what's about to unfold will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about church, family, and betrayal. And if you've been following from the beginning, stay close, because this chapter changes everything. The official report said cardiac arrest, but that didn't explain the blood. Chigazi had collapsed in the middle of anointing fire service. He was screaming mid-prayer when his voice cracked like glass, and he dropped, clutching his chest. But as they turned him over, what people saw wasn't holy at all. His lips were blue, his eyes were wide open, and his chest, his sacred, tithing, breathing, suit-covered chest, had blood soaking through it. Uju stood frozen on the second pew, unable to move. Her son, Chuka, clung tightly to her waist, confused and frightened. A whisper trailed down the pews like wildfire. This is a sacrifice. Somebody used juju. This is not natural. God is speaking. By nightfall, Chigazi's death wasn't just news, it was prophecy. At home, Uju locked every door and window before pulling out her phone. Her hands shook as she opened the email from an address she didn't recognize. There was only one sentence. Check the red Bible in his drawer. She didn't wait. Storming into the bedroom, the one she used to share with him before she caught him with Sister Naomi on the night of their anniversary, she yanked the drawer open. There, dusty and untouched, sat the red leather King James Bible he always carried for crusades. She hadn't seen it in months. She opened it. Inside the hollowed pages was a flash drive and a letter. To whoever finds this, I know I'm being followed. If I die, it wasn't sickness. Ask Naomi. Ask Deacon Ezra. They betrayed me. just like I betrayed Uju. But this time, I couldn't cover it up. Not again. Not after what happened in Oweri. I kept the footage. I kept the truth. Forgive me. Uju's chest tightened. There was something on that drive. Something worth killing for. It took less than an hour to find someone who could crack the flash drive. Her cousin Ibuka was a computer science dropout turned hacker for hire, living in Ajigunal. He popped it into his laptop, raised an eyebrow, and whistled. This pastor day lived dangerous life. Oh. What did you see? Uju leaned over. Videos. Recordings. Voice notes. Emails. He clicked through one folder. A video popped up, grainy but clear. Chigazi was in a hotel room, pacing. A voice off-screen said, "You think you can run from it?" Another voice, male, deeper. "You helped us do it. Now you want to act holy." Then, Naomi's voice. "If this leaks, I'm finished. We're all finished." Uju's stomach turned. "Pause it." Ibuka hit the space bar. "I need copies of everything. Send it to my phone. And delete it from this laptop. No backups." Ibuka gave her a knowing look. "Ani, what you want to do?" "Clean the church," Uju said quietly. From the altar down. The next morning, the sun hadn't fully risen when Uju stood before a gathering of leaders at the church's emergency meeting. Naomi was there, sunglasses hiding swollen eyes. Deacon Ezra sat beside her, arms folded, jaw clenched. They didn't know she had the drive. Yet, "We need to pray," Ezra said. "The devil is trying to scatter the house of God." Uju cleared her throat. "No, the devil didn't kill Pastor Chigazi." Every head turned. Naomi blinked. Ezra frowned. "What do you mean, Sister Uju?" "I mean he was poisoned. And I have proof. Proof he was being blackmailed, manipulated, controlled, by people in this room." Naomi stood abruptly. "You've lost your mind." "No, Naomi. You lost your cover." Uju pulled out her phone and hit play. The room filled with the sound of Naomi's voice from the hotel video. "We're all finished." Gasps. One elder slumped in his chair. Ezra lunged forward. "Where did you get that?" "Sit down." Uju barked. "We're not doing this behind closed doors. I'm taking this to the police. And the media. The people deserve to know who's been stealing their tithes, hiding their sins behind incense and hallelujahs." Naomi's lips trembled. "He said he'd protect me. Did he protect Sister Beezy?" Uju snapped. A silence fell. Nobody had mentioned Beezy in years. Beezy was the quiet choir girl who moved abroad mysteriously. But Uju knew better. She remembered the night Beezy came to her, weeping, saying she was pregnant with Chigazi's child. Then, 3 days later, Beezy vanished. Now Uju had a file on her. Documents, emails, even a bank transfer to a clinic in Ghana. From Naomi's account. It wasn't just infidelity anymore. It was abuse, a cover-up, and maybe murder. Naomi fled the room. Ezra followed. The other leaders sat frozen, unwilling to choose a side. Yet, Uju took a deep breath. This was no longer about revenge. It was about justice. But she didn't know that somewhere far away, someone else was watching. That night, a black SUV pulled up outside Uju's apartment. She peeked through the curtain. A man stepped out. Tall, black coat, face she didn't recognize. He slid a brown envelope under her door and disappeared into the darkness. She opened it slowly. Inside, an old photo. It was a younger Chigazi, and another man beside him, dressed like a priest, but not from any church she'd ever seen. On the back, a date was scribbled, April 1998, Imo State, and one word, covenant. The next morning, Uju traveled to Imo. She wasn't sure what she was looking for, but the photo had triggered something. She remembered hearing rumors, back in the day, that Chigazi had gone to a mountain of fire before he started the church. But he came back changed, ambitious, powerful, unstoppable. She visited the area printed on the photo. Locals whispered about a compound in the bush, said it burned down years ago, said strange things happened there. Animals dying, women bleeding for months, men going mad. Uju found the ruins, blackened walls, ash, scorch marks still etched into the stone. But deep in the back room, under a collapsed cross, she found something. A diary, water-stained, torn, but legible. It wasn't Chigazi's. It belonged to a man named Pastor Nwankwo. And on the first page, we made a blood covenant. 4 of us. Chigazi, Ezra, Naomi, myself, to build a church that would never fall. But one of us betrayed the pact. Now the spirits want blood. Uja dropped the book. Lightning cracked the sky above her. She wasn't fighting church politics anymore. She was fighting something darker, something ancient. And if she didn't finish what she started, more people would die. Adiz pressed her face against the cold metal gate of Old Covenant Compound, the ruins of what she'd found days earlier. Rain pelted her head as the words reverberated inside her mind. The ancient covenant was still alive, calling her by name. If you still believe this is just scandal, hold on. Because now you're digging into a dark covenant, a church built on blood magic, and a war no one warned you about. Subscribe and hit the bell. You're still with me, right? She stepped inside the remains, journal clutched tighter, feeling the curse drip through the air. It wasn't just fear, it was presence. Something watching. Behind her, footsteps. She turned, but no one. Just hushed wind through half-standing beams. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. One word on the screen. Confess. She swallowed. 3 hours earlier, Gloria called. She had news. I'm meeting someone important, Gloria said, voice trembling. They know about the covenant. They want to help. Gloria didn't say who. She just asked Adiz to meet her at Port Harcourt Market at dusk. Back at the compound, Adiz spotted a figure at the end of the aisles, tall, concealed. A man's silhouette with wide shoulders. She couldn't make out his face. He spoke first. You shouldn't be here alone. She lifted her chin. Why are you here? He stepped closer, face half lit by the storm. I'm here to end it. You know about the covenant? He nodded. More than you know. My pastor bought the same covenant 20 years ago. For men, for pastors, same circle. He revealed his name, Chinidu, from Abuja. He'd tracked the same chain across states. And he'd lost everything, family, ministry, respect, after exposing one of them. I helped reveal Felix's files, he said quietly. Her back stiffened. You were the one. He nodded again. This is bigger than your town, your church. They heard someone coming. Footsteps. The figure flicked a knife into her hand. Here, he said. It's time. Earlier that morning, somewhere else in Port Harcourt, Naomi found a note on her pastor's desk. You lost the covenant. He's coming for you. Her eyes widened. She pressed a trembling hand to her heart. Meanwhile, at Uju's makeshift newsroom, Ibuka was on his laptop. We found something, he said. A recording from a white van outside the church compound that night. They know you were there. Adiz pulled the screen toward her. Romantic voices, but not from their families. There were men talking about the blood price, the pact, and the anniversary. 30 days since Chigazi died, Ibuka explained. They're planning for their replacement. Another rally. More worship. Same speakers. Same facade. Who's behind the recording? He shook his head. I sent copies to the blog. But someone's tracking it. Feeds get deleted by noon every day. Her chest tightened again. That evening, Adiz and Gloria met in dusk's orange glow near the market. No one spoke for 2 minutes. Gloria folded her hands. This man, Chinidu, he's here. He wants you to go with him. Tonight. To Abuja. Adiz drew in breath sharply. To confront them in their own church. She shook slightly. And the kids? Gloria dipped her head. My aunt can take them, but you go at once. Back at the compound, they found symbols carved into the altar floor for intersecting triangles, charred wood, and spiral lines. It matched the faded sketch inside Pastor Nwankwo's diary. Chinidu traced one line. This is a seal, broken, but it bleeds unless it's renewed. He handed Adiz a bottle with black oil. Anoint with this at midnight. They'll come. Hours later, Adiz returned home, exhausted. Chuka was waiting by the door, his eyes red. Mom, he stammered. They called me during class. Said Papa Felix wants to meet me. Alone. A knot in her stomach. They know where we are, Chinidu had said. And now, they were hunting at the school. That night, she anointed the seal inside the compound with the oil while Chinidu filmed. They heard chanting. Figures in robed ministry uniforms moved just outside the ruins. Preachers yelling over a speaker. Glory voices. Adiz's phone recorded it. Then, silence. A voice whispered into the night. You cannot wash away a covenant with oil. She looked up, a silhouette in red beads. Amara's daughter, Amaka, alone, pale, eyes glowing in the dark. She whispered, You are too late. Chucked by fear, Adiz stumbled backward. Amaka raised her hand. Now the blood becomes yours. The air grew cold. She dropped her phone. It hit the ground and cracked, capturing everything until the power cut. Uju heard it before she opened her eyes. Her name, spoken under her window at 3:13 a.m., soft and slow. She pressed her ear to the wooden plank covering the shattered glass. Darkness pressed in all around her. Then, a whisper from outside. Uju, you know too much. She trembled, closed her eyes, and prayed silently. Hours earlier, Adiz was awake in Abuja, staring at the GPS coordinates Chinedu texted her. The church, Kingdom Harvest Ministries, built on golden pillars, white marbled floors, and a silver cross pierced at the apex. This was their covenant site. She gripped her phone. Gloria's voice rang. They called you last night. Minutes later, she walked into the church compound. Thick fog swirled around her. She pushed open the heavy doors. Silence. Inside, the altar glowed blue. Candles flickered, though no one had lit them. Chinedu appeared behind her, camera rolling. He pointed upward. Engraved above the altar, she looked up. For names carved in blood-red letters. Chigozie, Ezra, Naomi, Nwankwo. And one more. Uju. That's impossible, she whispered. Chinedu panned the camera slowly. You were included in the covenant at birth. Her breath caught. Before she could speak, a door slammed. Footsteps. A choir of robed figures appeared at the entrance. They were singing, holding Bibles, eyes closed, praying. She wanted to turn and run, but she couldn't. Back in Port Harcourt, Uju heard a crash. Barefoot, she bolted to her window. Outside, a silver sedan idled. Its door opened. A tall figure wearing a priest's suit stepped out. His face was masked. In his hand, a ceremonial dagger. He approached. Then, he paused, looked at the windshield, carved into the glass in red letters. Next Sunday is your funeral. In the Abuja church, Adiz held her breath. Her phone rang. Gloria's voice. They know you came. A chant rose behind the worshippers. More voices joined. Her knees buckled. She dropped the phone. Chinedu scooped it up. They're coming, he mouthed behind the camera. Every candle flickered. A figure appeared at the altar. Amaka, holding a flame-lit goblet filled with black oil. She smiled. Drink, she whispered to Adiz. Inside Uju's apartment, her phone lit up. Ibuka messaged. It's leaked. Your phone recorded someone at the compound last night, saying your kids might be next. Uju flinched. She opened the latest headline. Video leaks of cult members chanting in ruined church compound. Politician's wife implicated. Someone watch tomorrow. In the Abuja altar, Amaka lifted the goblet. Her tongue flicked. This blood is yours. She offered it. Adiz stepped back, thought to run, but then heard a door open behind her. Back in Port Harcourt, Uju grabbed her daughters and ran. She didn't look back. In the Covenant Church, Amaka was still chanting. A group of masked figures surrounded the altar. Suddenly, they dropped their masks. It was Naomi and Deacon Ezra, with Chinedu filming them. Naomi caught Adiz's eye. No shame, just triumph. You cannot stop us, Ezra shouted. Cameras rolled. Adiz's scream echoed. Uju reached the gate, panting. She dialed Adiz. No answer. Then a whisper floated down the phone. She drank. Her blood ran cold. The chanting grew louder. Amaka raised the goblet again. Finish what the pact began. Adiz trembled. Just as Amaka poured the black oil into Adiz's mouth, sirens wailed. Police vehicles flooded the compound. Spotlights cut through the darkness. But before Adiz could react, a shotgun blast echoed, and everything went black. The voice rang through the crowded courtroom in Abuja like thunder on a quiet morning. Judge Florence Omateo slammed her gavel. Order! But the murmurs didn't stop. Cameras flashed. People gasped. And Uju, standing in the witness box, tightened her grip on a mic. If you're watching this, don't scroll. What you're about to hear is what the Nigerian church has tried to silence for years. Like, subscribe, because the next 10 minutes will change everything. 3 hours earlier, Uju sat quietly in the prosecutor's waiting room. Her fingers were shaking as she stared at the envelope in her lap. The final confession of Adiz, recorded the night before she went into hiding. Inside the envelope were flash drives, bank records, and photographs. The proof that everything, the church covenants, the arranged marriages, the fake miracles, the secret deaths, wasn't just conspiracy. It was orchestrated. For power, for land, and above all, for bloodline preservation. A soft knock at the door. A young female bailiff leaned in. "They're ready for you, Ma." Uju nodded slowly and stood up, wearing a simple cream blouse and long skirt. No makeup, no jewelry, only truth. As she walked through the hallway, past reporters and whispers and judgmental eyes, she repeated a mawkish words in her mind. "They will paint you as mad. But madness is what happens when truth is forced to kneel." In the courtroom, Deacon Ezra sat tall. On his right was Naomi, arms folded, her expression unreadable. On his left, a man in priestly robes. Pastor Nwachukwu, the so-called prophet whose televised revival 4 years ago launched the international franchise of Kingdom Harvest Ministries. In the gallery, Chinito live-streamed the trial. Over 82,000 people were watching in real time. And rising. "Please state your name for the court," the prosecutor said. Uju's voice trembled slightly. "You Junwan Nwachinamir. And your relationship to the defendants?" Uju turned slowly, eyes meeting Ezra's. "I was married into their circle." The judge leaned forward. "What do you mean by circle?" Uju took a breath, then pulled out the envelope and placed it on the evidence desk. Inside was a single photo. A group shot, taken years ago. 5 people standing together. Ezra, Naomi, Pastor Nwachukwu, Amaka, and a boy, wearing a school uniform, standing between Amaka and Ezra. The courtroom murmured. Ezra's face twitched. "Who is the child?" the prosecutor asked. Uju replied calmly. "His name was Micah." She paused. "And he didn't survive the dedication ritual." Gasps filled the room. Naomi whispered something in Ezra's ear. Judge Omateo leaned forward again. "You're alleging that the defendants were involved in ritual practices involving a child's death?" Uju nodded. She opened the flash drive. The first video played on the big screen. A candlelit room. Red robes. Voices chanting. Amaka's voice. Whispering, "He's the offering." Ezra's lawyer jumped up. "Objection. Fabricated video. No timestamp. No chain of custody." The judge slammed her gavel again. "Objection noted. Let it be marked for review." The audience was no longer whispering. They were murmuring prayers. Some crying. Others filming. Next exhibit. Audio confession. Adiz's voice, clear, broken. "He told me the covenant was meant to protect the church. But it was a lie. It was about consolidating lineage through forced unions. I drank from the goblet. I signed my fate. But I won't let them do this to another girl." A woman in the back screamed. "My daughter joined that youth choir." Judge Omateo called for order again. But the chaos had begun. Ezra whispered to his lawyer. His face was calm, but his fingers twitched beneath the desk. Naomi still hadn't blinked. Pastor Nwachukwu crossed himself, then looked at Uju with a quiet kind of hatred. "Ms. Nwachinamir," the prosecutor said, "do you have evidence that money exchanged hands to silence victims?" Uju lifted another document. Bank transactions. Offshore accounts. One stood out. $750,000 wired to an anonymous account in Geneva, Switzerland. Labeled, Restoration Services. It was from Kingdom Harvest Ministries. To Naomi, the defense lawyer stood again. "This is a witch hunt. My client is a respected man of God." "Your client is a liar," Uju said suddenly. Her voice was cold, firm. "He didn't just bury the truth. He built an empire on the bones of children." Another video played, this time of a burned-down house. Amaka's former residence. Before her accidental death. A timestamp in the corner. Just 2 days after she tried to leave the church. Judge Omateo removed her glasses. Her voice softened. "Ms. Nwachinamir, do you fear for your life?" Uju didn't blink. I already died the day I married into this. Outside the courthouse, a small crowd began to gather. Protesters, placards reading, "Shut down Kingdom Harvest. God is not a secret society. We demand justice." The final blow came when the prosecutor played one last recording. An intercepted voice note from Ezra himself. "If she speaks in court, we leak her photos. We destroy her name. She'll beg to disappear." The courtroom went silent. The judge's gavel echoed once, then twice. "We are suspending court for 1 hour while I confer with the Ethics Council." Gasps again. Reporters ran out with breaking news. Uju sat down. Chinidu gave her a silent nod from the back. Naomi stood and walked out without a word. Ezra followed her moments later. Outside, the mob had grown. Whistles. Chants. Inside a black SUV parked across the street, a man watched silently. A voice in his earpiece crackled. "Sir, the bishop says if Ezra falls, the rest of us will be exposed." The man lit a cigarette, then said coldly, "Then we silence her before morning." That night, Uju returned to her safe house. But the door was already open. Inside, every file was gone. Only one message left behind, carved into her wall. "Repent, or bury yourself." That was the voice on the call. Cold, calm, certain. By the time Uju realized who it was, she'd already dropped the phone. She stared at the screen. Tonight, at 9 p.m., Channel 5 Live. I won't fail. Just 3 hours earlier, in the Vatican Hotel, Abuja, Naomi pressed her makeup compact tightly. "You're making one public confession tonight," a masked voice said through the intercom. A screen behind her lit up. Ezra, on camera, wearing the same robes he wore at the trial. "Follow the script," he mouthed. "Say Uju's a liar. Say she manipulated the church." Naomi nodded, lips pressed tight. "This is your redemption," the voice continued. "You will confess on live TV, where your daughter dies." Her eyes filled. In Lagos, at a TV studio, the director paced nervously. The set was ready. Lights, cameras, audience seating, and one chair. On stage, for Naomi to confess. "It'll look like a showdown," the director muttered to himself. Naomi versus Uju. Church versus truth. Meanwhile, Uju slept in a safe house in Surulere. Chuka curled beside her, his breathing slow. Innocent. Her phone buzzed again. Links. PDF files. News headlines. Another pastor exposed. UJU and missing persons? Viewers witness late night live declaration. She froze. She wasn't missing, but the world was already rewriting her story. At 8:59 p.m., Channel 5's live broadcast began. On camera, a bright newsroom backdrop, damp from lingering studio heat. The host introduced Naomi with reverence. "Tonight we bring you Confession Hour with Prophetess Naomi, live from Kingdom Harvest Ministries." Naomi stepped on stage in a white dress. No scapular, no cross, just a woman facing her sins. The audience clapped politely. Ezra stood in the wings, flanked by production men in black. "You start by praising him," hissed the director in her ear. "Thank him for his mercy." A button clicked. Inside the studio, a live countdown appeared. 1 minute to Rising Star live confession. Naomi inhaled. Then she opened her mouth. "Steady. I lied." Gasped from the audience. Cameras zoomed in. "Uju is a liar. A schemer. She stole my identity. She ruined my ministry." Her words landed like a bomb. But just as she began her second line, a new voice cut through. Suddenly, the conductor's monitor flickered. Naomi's feed froze. In her place live, Ezra, standing behind a lectern, remote control in hand. He pressed play. What followed was grainy footage from inside the covenant site. Amaka, chanted prayers, Ezra and Naomi, blood oaths, knife rituals, surrounded by masked figures. Then very clearly, Naomi's face. Looking up, smiling. As the knife lifted, the studio erupted. Naomi screamed. Ezra's eyes flicked to the camera. "This is the truth." The host stuttered. "This isn't." But the video played to its end. An image froze. Naomi dropping her mask. "Then I drank," wrote across the screen in blood-red font. The broadcast switched to live audience reaction. Naomi collapsed. Ezra grabbed her arm. "Stay alive. You're mine." Backstage, the director ran off. "We're hacked," he shouted. "Block her mic, cut feed." The producers frantically pulled cables. Outside the live audience, Uju watched on her phone, hidden, with Chinedu. Capture live. The confession destroyed. Naomi's face twisted in betrayal. Ezra's own betrayal broadcast to millions. Minutes later, chaos erupted. The TV host was crying. Viewers called the station. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Ezra exposed. Hashtag Blood Covenant Church. Hashtag Uju is truth. Earldom gathered evidence. Somewhere near the studio, Uju's phone rang again. Unknown number. A voice whispered, "You win this round." Then static. A knock. Rattling. A black van idled outside the safe house. Its taillights flicked red to green. 3 masked figures in suits surrounded the house. One held a clipboard. Stepped forward. Pressed it to the door. "We come for repentance." Uju pressed single. "No." The chanting started again. In the distance, FM waves pulsed. Voices. Prayers. "Wash us with your blood." Clutching Chuka, Uju backed away. Her hands trembled, but her mind raced. Because just as the masked men kicked in the door, 3 SWAT vans screeched to the entrance. Blue lights flared. Men in SWAT gear poured out, shouting, "Arrest them!" Glass shattered. Doors flew open. Naomi was taken into custody. Ezra vanished. The masked men scattered. But as Uju stepped into the newborn dawn, she found a single mask left behind. On her doorstep, red beads, etched number 3 in jagged black ink. A prophecy sign. She froze, because 3 meant one of the original Covenant members was still free. The courtroom doors burst open. Cameras rolled. Reporters flooded the room. And in the center walked Uju, dressed in white, carrying Micah's photo. Whispers followed her. Miracle child. Justice saint. She holds them all accountable now. If you're watching this, hit subscribe, because tonight this story reaches its explosive end. 3 hours earlier, Ezra's trial began in Lagos. Naomi in the dock, Uju in the front seat. The press was packed. Ezra had vanished, but his name hung heavy. The judge took her place. Uju stood to give testimony. Her voice was calm. "I am the final covenant." The courtroom froze. Uju pulled out the symbolic mask with red beads and 3 etched. That symbol from the doorstep. "We have counted 4 in the blood covenant," she said slowly. 3 are exposed. The last is hiding. Waiting. The judge nodded. "Proceed." She held out a photograph. Micah. School uniform. A missing child. "They dedicated him to the covenant," Uju said. "He is the last sacrifice they try to hide." Gasps. Reporters snapped photos. Ezra's lawyer stood, furious. "Objection, speculation." The judge pounded. "Objection overruled." Uju laid down the final evidence folder. Inside, a handwriting match. The diary of Pastor Nwankwo. The original red ink prophecy. It matched handwriting in Naomi's confession video. "They thought I was alone," Uju said, tears in her eyes. "They didn't count on a Micah surviving." A voice boomed outside. The courtroom door opened. Micah walked in. The room gasped. Chinedu led him forward. Sister Gloria followed, proud. The judge whispered, "Proceed." Uju took Micah's hand. "They hit him," she said, "but they couldn't bury truth." She turned and spoke directly to invisible Ezra. "You took everything, but you failed." Outside the courtroom, chaos raged. A live stream showed Ezra's arrest in Owerri. A village church burned to the ground. Stained ritual symbols drawn on walls. Social media blew up. Inside the court, Naomi collapsed. "He made me sign," she cried. "He said if I confessed, my daughter would be used next." The judge looked on. "Sentencing begins now." The hearing shifted to sentencing. Ezra was found guilty on multiple counts: conspiracy, ritual murder, child endangerment. Naomi, accessory and witness, received suspended sentence. Micah stared at his mother. She hugged him close. Uju smiled quietly. Then things turned. From defense lawyer's briefcase, a file was dropped. A second prophecy. Copied. The final twist. It read, "The covenant completes when all four stand before the altar." The crowd shivered. Uju's phone buzzed. 3. A message from an unknown number. "You can't win this war alone." Chinidu nudged her. "It's coming." That night, in Uju's apartment, she opened the message again. 2 more numbers appeared. 4. 2. She stared, but suddenly the lights went out. Inside the dark foyer of their church, a figure dropped a package. A mask, red, beads glimmering. The door clicked shut. Judgment Day ended. But the covenant was far from broken. For even as Ezra fell, someone else watched from the shadows. And tomorrow, the altar awaits. If you stayed till the end, leave a candle in the comments to light up truth over lies. Share this story, because sometimes faith is the most dangerous battlefield. Subscribe for more stories that challenge everything you think you know.